Hello, Miss Steele here. So this week we are talking about pop art. So we're going to make our own Andy Warhol inspired pop art donuts. So what you want for this project is you want 2 pieces of paper. You want something to color in with. I have crowns and markers, a pencil and an eraser, some glue, scissors, and then I'm going to be painting my background. So I have a cup of water and some paints. If you don't have paints, you could just color in your background, or you could even use colored paper for your background if you wanted to. So I'm going to get this all out of the way, and the first thing I want to do is I want to fold both of these into 4 sections. So to do that, first I'm going to fold my paper in half. And I'm doing this like a card almost, so I'm not doing it the long way. And then I'm going to fold it one more time. So I'm making for sure the corners are lining up, and then I'm squishing down the other side. And then once I unfold it, I have 4 sections. So I'm going to do that with this one as well. Because what we're going to do is we're going to create 4 different areas in that very Andy Warhol style with colored backgrounds, and then we're going to add our pop art donuts on top. So now what I want to do is I want to paint in my background, and I want each of my squares to be a different color. If you don't have paints, you could use crowns, you could use markers, you could even cut out colored paper if you wanted for your background. But since I have some paints, I'm going to add a different color to each of the squares. So how you decide to color it in, like whether you do red and blue or orange, it doesn't really matter. You just want to have 4 different colors for the 4 different areas. And I'm trying to use a little bit of brighter colors just because pop art is very bright in its style a lot of the time. So I'm going to get each of these 4 squares painted in, and then we'll check in, and then I'm going to have to find a safe place to let this dry while we're working on our next step. Pop art became popularized in the 1950s, and it was art based around stuff that we saw in popular culture, so things we see every day. They kind of took a break from trying to make art super serious and almost hard to understand, and instead they started making art that represented things that the normal people might see out and about, like donuts or soup cans. Alright, so I have my background all finished. I'm going to go find a safe place to let it dry, clean up in my area, and then we'll start working on our donuts. Alright, so there is a few different styles of donuts you can try out. I'm going to draw one of each so you can see. You would draw it in pencil first, and then, I forgot my black marker, outline it in black marker, and then we're going to color it in, cut it out, and put it on our background. Alright, so our first style we're going to draw is a normal round donut with a hole in the center. I'm going to add a wavy line around the edge, and that is going to be my frosting. You can think about what kind of sprinkles you might want to add on here, and I'm going to draw in some different sprinkles, because I think I want this one to have some sprinkles on it. Alright, our next style is pretty similar to this, but we're not going to add a hole on it. So it's going to be a filled donut. And I'm going to erase these pencil lines I don't need. And what you can do for this one is on one of the ends, I'm going to draw a little wavy line like that's where it was filled. And then you can think about what you might want the top of this one to look like. I think I'm going to draw a wavy line going around because I want it to be glazed. And then I think for this one, I think I'm going to add some swirls on top. I think I'm going to add kind of like a swirl like this. So go in, then I go out. So now I have that one. So now we have two different styles. Another style is like one of those kind of curly or curler donuts. What I do is I lightly draw a circle in the shape I want, and then I go through and I start drawing some flat ovals right next to each other going around. And this is going to end up being our next donut. And I just draw that circle, oop, getting a little too round. And that's how I draw my curler donut. And then I'm going to erase this line that goes around the inside of them. And then I end up with just kind of that curled shape. And then our last style is called a long john. So what I do is I draw a big rectangle like this. I think I'm going to draw a not wavy line, but just a straight line going down. And then I think I'm going to add a little swirl on top, so it looks like it has some extra icing. Alright, so I have 4 different styles of donuts drawn out, and I'm going to outline them in Sharpie, erase any pencil lines that might be hanging out, and then color them in really colorful using these. So I'm going to get this outlined, and then we'll move on to our next step. Alright, so I have my donuts all outlined, and I erased the pencil lines kind of hanging in behind there. So now my last step would be coloring these in, and since we're doing pop art style donuts, we do not have to color them in normal. We can color them in kind of crazy. So, oop, forgot to erase this little area. So I'm going to color in this one with you guys so you can see, and then I'm going to color in the other 3. But I've already decided I want this donut to be bright pink. So then I'm spending time coloring in my donuts. I'm using markers and crayons just because I think that gives me more options for colors, and I want to make these super colorful. So these by no means have to be colored in like normal donuts. We're going to make them like outer space donuts or something, donuts that are kind of crazy colors. So I would do that, and then I'm going to go in, I'm going to make this one, this cream color. And I'm going to go back with some other colors and color in the sprinkles. Maybe some green, maybe some blue, maybe we'll do red for the last one. So I'm going to follow the same step and get the rest of these donuts colored in. And then we'll cut them out and put them on our backgrounds and see how they look all put together. Alright, so I got all of my donuts colored in. And what I'm going to show you real quick is if you have a hole in your donut, an easy and safe way to cut the hole out of your donut. So I start by cutting around. And depending on what kind of donuts you decided to do, you may or may not have a hole in your donut. But once I have it cut out, if I have a hole in the center, what I do is I gently bend it, and then I just cut one little cut. Once I have that one little cut in here, I start using that to gently start cutting around. Like that. And I like to cut out some as I go, just because I think it's easier to move my scissors around. So I'm going to work on getting the rest of my donuts cut out, and then we will get them put on the background. And kind of arranging them on the background is a fun part too, because you get to decide which donut looks best where and all of that fun stuff. So I'm going to work on getting these other 3 cut out, and then we'll move on to our next step. Alright, so I have my background and I have my donuts all cut out, and now what I can decide is where I want to put each of them. Maybe like this. And so I'm just going to kind of move them around. I actually think I like it like this. So now that I have them in the areas that I think they look the best, I will glue them down. So going around the edges, a dot is a lot. Trying to put them as much in the center as I can, and then squishing it down. So now I'm going to do that with this one. And that's the fun part about like cutting them out, is kind of deciding which background you think they look the best on. I'm going to do this one a little bit crooked. This one on here. My curler donut's my last one. Trying to get one in all of these little areas so it squishes down. I'm going to squish it down right in here. And that is it, my friend. These are our pop art donuts. So colorful, Andy Warhol inspired, looking at pop art. We're also talking about balance this week, and that works into that too. I will see you all next time. Have a wonderful rest of your morning, your evening, your afternoon, whenever you're watching this. Bye.